Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today is Thursday, August 30th, 2018. Before we get into this video as well, I just want to show you guys some of these real quick. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we've been here before, right? Bitcoin's under 7,000 again. So I want to take a look at price, and I want to take a look at a few things I'm looking at, and I want to get your guys' opinion, as always, on that. So I'm excited to get into that first. And then as well, I do want to cover an article. It's about Charlie Lee. Litecoin creator Charlie Lee is what it's titled here. But I want to get into that as well. Charlie has been on about 3 different interviews, pretty decently big interviews in the last week. First, I believe it was CNBC. He had about a 2.5 minute segment on that. And then I believe he was on a channel called Bitcoin Maestro or Bitcoin Meister. I think it's Bitcoin Meister. And I believe that was about a half-hour interview. And last night as well, he did do an interview on the Data Dash channel, which for many of you, I'm sure you all know, Data Dash is currently the largest cryptocurrency YouTube channel with a little over 300,000 subscribers. So again, that's big exposure, right? I mean, I'm sure everyone already knows Charlie Lee, obviously, but the interview was on the biggest cryptocurrency YouTube channel. So it's likely to assume, I guess, that most people are going to be seeing that interview as opposed to it being on any other YouTube channel. So that's pretty big. I watched the whole thing. It's about a half hour. It's pretty good. There's a lot of good insight. It's a good interview. It's very informative, relaxed, straight to the point type interview. A lot of good questions brought up and a lot of good answers as well. That's not what this article is about, but I just wanted to bring up. If you guys want to check out those 3 articles, if you do like Litecoin, and if you want to watch some material with Charlie in particular, then those are 3 resources. CNBC, Bitcoin Meister, I believe. Again, I apologize if I'm incorrect about that, and then Data Dash as well. So I want to get into Bitcoin's chart real quick because I have some opinions and things I want to throw out here and see what you guys think about this. So if we look at Bitcoin here on the daily chart, so right here we are, it looks like we're not doing that good, right? I mean, we're down about $200 or $300 from yesterday. Yesterday we were around 7,100. Currently we're around 6,850 at the time of me recording this video. One thing to take note of as well, shorts have decreased drastically from over 34,000, I believe it was, actually about almost 40,000. Wow, I didn't know it was that high, to almost half of that, around 26,000 right now. You can see the stochastic kind of indicating potentially somewhat of a pullback. We are at the top here on that in terms of momentum. But what I want to look at here, you know, if you go back, we have a few moves over the past few months. We can start here as one, but I kind of want to disregard this one because that was kind of the first bounce. So I want to look at this one here, and I want to look at this one. So both of these moves weren't completely parabolic, right? So right here, we jumped up about $1,000 from 6,800 to 7,800 within a day. And then we traded sideways from April 11th to about April 19th, so a little over a week. And then we had a nice boost again from 82 all the way up to about 88. We continued, traded sideways here, and then we kind of broke down a little bit. And that's the kind of the trend there. Same thing here with the last little pump before the kind of pump that we're currently in. Had a few days of a lot of action from 63 all the way up to around 76 within like 2 days, right? But we didn't stop there. We did trade sideways from about the 17th of July to the 22nd, 23rd roughly. And then we jumped from 77 all the way up to 84, 8,500 roughly. So again, if we look at the last 2 pumps to this trend line right here, or at least upward moves to the trend line, because that's kind of the important thing we're watching right now. If we look at the 2 most recent ones, you can see that it was not completely parabolic. There were times where we were trading sideways in the middle of those, I guess you could call it like a retouch on the trend line. This is the trend line I'm talking about right here, this large sloping line. So is it safe to potentially look at this as, which I don't think many people are. Potentially, I'm sure there are some people that are looking at this as like oh, here we're just going to go straight down from here. Potentially, we could just see this as another flattening out sideways scenario before continuing to try and touch this trend line. I think that's best case scenario right now. That's really what we need to try. Again, that trend line is really, really close, pretty much exactly convergent with the 200-day moving average right here, this like dark purple line. So yeah, that's a pattern we see. We see it pretty often. Especially, I mean, I think the best indicator we can look at right now is what has been happening the last few months in particular, because it seems to be really repeating, kind of just like a pattern like that. Well, I drew this last upward thing, but that hasn't happened yet, and who knows if it will happen. But yeah, and another thing to note as well, when we did touch the potential bottom here around 5,800 back at the end of June, we did end up coming back and touching, kind of forming a higher low right here, right around 6,061. So this was the first one, and we didn't go straight up from there. We ended up touching right here then before having a massive increase here, kind of just to see if there was support there. And when the market did identify it as potentially support, you can see within 2 days we went from about 62 all the way up to about 74. So a little over $1,000 just in 2 days on these two green candles right here. So what we're seeing right now potentially could be a consolidation of what the momentum that we've been seeing the last few days as well, guys. The 50-day moving average right here, so that's not something to take lightly. You can see it's played, I mean, in my opinion, and basically what I guess the simplest way of looking at the chart shows, it has played a role in the past. I mean, back here when this was seen as resistance right here, kind of right at the sideways trading, similar to right now actually. We sideways traded right underneath the 50-day moving average right here. But we did break out of it. That's when we had a nice increase here, and then we continued. And then, of course, you can see it looks like some resistance right on the 200-day moving average. Same thing here. When we couldn't find support there, you can see how much it broke down here. Within 2 days, we went from 84 to 74, $1,000 drop in 2 days when this 50-day moving average was not seen as support there. Again, here, looking for resistance here, it did get the resistance, and it traded there for a decent amount of time. Got rejected there, went all the way down, but then when it was able to test again and break above, you can see within 1 day, 6,700 all the way up to 7,400, about $700 or $800 increase in 1 day when it broke the 50-day moving average. So that's very similar to what we're looking at right now. Right now, the 50-day moving average is totally 100% key in my opinion. Pretty much, currently we're sitting underneath it. However, it hasn't, the daily candle hasn't closed beneath it. We actually closed above it yesterday. And if we zoom in here, you can see that we had a nice wick down and then bounced up here. So if we're able to do that again today, I think that would be extremely good. If we would be able to see that kind of bounce. But again, similar to what we've been seeing the last few months, and this might be a little more realistic, we pretty much every time we touch it the first time on a run or an upward trend, we don't really break it. So is it possible that we maybe come down a little bit, retest when the moving average is still around here, and then break it in a few days, right? Could be the very beginning of September, which is only, within a week pretty much. So that's what I'm looking out for. Again, this 50-day moving average is a huge zone here, so it's no surprise that we are seeing some resistance right here. But again, previous resistance becomes support and vice versa. Previous support becomes resistance. So if this is able to form a support here, we could see ourselves heading on the way up. But again, we kind of have to cement that before we can really have that become reality. It kind of needs to happen. And sometimes the process takes a few days. Sometimes it takes a week. As you can see in the past, looking at this chart, the sideways trading is, it's real. It happens. So yeah, something to keep note of. But then just jumping over to this article, it was published on ccn.com. Litecoin creator Charlie Lee recommends buying Bitcoin in the bear market. So if we split the year up into thirds, right, every 4 months, cryptocurrency has been in a bear market for more than 2/3 of the year. Over 8 months of the year have been, well, it's about to be over 8 months because August is about to be over, in a bear market. So as August prepares to roll in September, predictions from past months that the Bitcoin price would test its all-time high in 2018 appear less and less likely. However, even in this prolonged decline, Charlie Lee says the flagship cryptocurrency is still a good buy. Basically, he's quoted as saying, "It's hard to predict prices. I've been in this space for 7 years now. I think sometimes it comes back within 6 months to a year, and sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years." That, of course, I think he's referencing like 2013. But again, that was brought on by Mt. Gox. The space was a lot smaller. The technology was a lot worse. There was less everything. The entire space was different. So again, I'm still sticking with the idea that I don't think crypto is ready for a 3 to 4 year bear market. We are in a bear market now, no doubt, you can call it that, but I don't necessarily think we're in for years of downside. I also want to say I don't necessarily think we're going to have a great rest of 2018. It's possible, but I don't want to say like the rest of the year is going to be incredibly bullish. But again, I don't think that 2019, 2020, 2021, I don't think they're also going to be similar to what we've seen this year at all. And again, he talks about speculative interest here and not actual consumer adoption. He's quoted as saying here, "It's all about speculation these days, but in the future, the price will reflect the success of the currencies." He said, adding that there's been quite a bit of adoption this year, even as prices have waned. And that's very true. Technology has been growing exponentially this entire year, despite the prices going down. I think a lot of people stay interested in the market, and a lot of people are still in the market because so much has actually happened in terms of technology and adoption and excitement even around the space. People are still excited about it. Granted, not really about the price, but more of just about the technology. And it's a cool space to be involved in. There's a lot of cool people. You know, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of stuff to capture people's interest. Again, the number one thing to capture people's interest is making money, obviously, and that's what brought in so much in 2017. But there's still other factors that are really important that have been pushing the space along. And a lot of people have been saying this, but this is also the time where people can get work done and kind of focus on improving that technology for the next run. And that's really happened so far. There's been so much good news. And then the article ends here when asked if he would be buying back in a Litecoin. And I covered this maybe like a day or two ago. It wouldn't really make sense for him to buy back into Litecoin because he sold it due to conflict of interest. So if he bought back in, then I guess he would be liable for conflict of interest again. So, I mean, he sold for a reason, so I don't necessarily see why he would buy back in. And he pretty much said the same thing, like he probably won't buy back in. But yeah, thanks for coming by. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I'll leave a link. I have a separate channel if you're interested in music, just kind of a few tutorials so far. It's extremely new. I don't really have any views on the channel yet, but I link it at the end of my videos now. So if you want to go check that out. And yeah.